Hi, John here at the Cordovan Art School where we create artists. Today we're going to show you how light works using different shapes. We're going to use a cone, a cube, and a sphere. Once you understand the principles of light and how they bend and move around different objects, you can paint just about everything. All art comes down to really two things, light and dark. When there is no light shining on your object, you can't draw it. So we're going to go ahead and flip the lights back on, and we'll show you how to see the form now that we have light shining on our object. Here's the different parts of what light's going to do to your object. Every light's going to have a part that's going to be the highlight. It's where the light's hitting your object the most. In a round ball, it's going to be somewhere about there. When light turns away from the object, it's going to form a shadow, and you see the shadow is going to kind of do something like this on the ball. And this is where everything on this side is in shadow, everything on that side is in the light. And now you're going to see whenever there's this part of the shadow, this is called the core line. This is where the light turns, or the form turns away from the light. And everything on the other side of this becomes the shadow. And then there's also going to be a cast shadow. The cast shadow is what is put on the ground or wherever the shadow is being cast onto, in this case, onto our paper. Inside the light area, you're going to notice that it's not all equal. There's the highlight that we just talked about, and then there's also halftones. Halftones are everything else. It's a small, slow gradient from our brightest part to it slowly gets darker, 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 darker until it hits our core line, and then we're into shadow. Let's talk a little bit more about that core line. Remember the core line right here? This is where the light separates from the shadow. If I bring in another object or another color object like this red piece of paper, you're going to notice that the ball is going to turn red inside of the shadow side. This is going to illustrate where that shadow is. Also, it's going to show that the red is going to bounce in. This is called reflective light or bounce back light. Because I have red, you can see that it's red. And you can see a little bit clearer where that shadow starts because it's kind of in red now. Let's try another color. We can influence the color or the reflective light by bringing in different colors next to it. Now you're going to see that that shadow turns a little bit more yellow. And finally, we're going to use blue. Let's take an object like a cone. The highlight's going to go down the entire side. The light's coming from that direction, so the light's going to hit the most on that side. You're going to see the core line right along here. And now you're going to see the reflective light. I'm going to illustrate a little bit more with this blue piece of paper. You can see this blue highlight coming in. This is the area where the reflective light comes in, or your bounce back light. And you've got your cast shadow here along the ground. Our first two objects have been round. Let's try it with something that's not round, like a cube. You can see in this situation, we've got a very harsh line where the light's hitting, and there's our new plane. Let's bring in the reflective light, and you can see how the shadow can be influenced by reflective light. Your highlighted side is going to be the side closest to the light. Your secondary or your other halftone area is going to be the side that's second closest to the light. They're both getting light. Now you've got your shadow side of the cube. It's going to be on this side, and you can see what happens when I bring in some bounce back light or reflective light. Lastly, you can see there's cast shadow. The object's casting a shadow on the ground. Thank you for joining us in this Principles of Light video, where we showed how light moves around different objects. We use the shapes of a cone, a cube, and a sphere. If you like this video, check out our next video, which is how to paint these objects, and have a wonderful day.